Hey YouTube, Ryu here. In advance, sorry for the shitty lighting, but y'all should be used to this by now. A video popped up in my feed from Raging Golden Eagle. It's from a while back. In fact, it's from October of last year. And it struck me as funny because I went through and rewatched it. And the thing is the video is still true. And that's kind of sad in and of itself, given what the video was about, but that's neither here nor there. But I wanted to go ahead and weigh in on this, just get it out there. I'm one of those people, I actually believe in actual equality, you know, where it's not equality of outcome, it's equality of opportunity. Now, that makes me a very unpopular motherfucker in today's political climate. Because a lot of people want equality of outcome. They want basically, if someone was to sit around eating Doritos all day, just sitting there watching TV, doing absolutely nothing, they would still get as much money, have as much access to information, so on and so forth. You know, to have all the same perks as that person that goes out, works 60 plus hours a week for the vast majority of their life in a body-destroying, mind-numbingly bad job. Now, a lot of people, whenever I explain it that way, they're all like, oh, there can't be anyone like that. No, actually there are. And a lot of them are politicians trying to sit there and secure votes. There's a big political movement that's believing that. And a lot of them, when you sit there, because they'll screech about equality this, equality that. And when you ask them what they mean by equality, it almost always ends up coming out to be equality of outcome. That's where we end up getting things like hiring quotas for businesses that businesses have to adhere to, or they pay a fine, a very hefty one, even for big businesses, even by their standards. Now, that is a big problem all around. Because if you have hiring quotas, then that means you have to sit there and vie to have people work for you. That puts these businesses, which are, as a lot of people love to say, whenever there's an argument being made about against video game companies and their shady practices, so on and so forth, usually done by these same people. You know, people love to say, hey, these businesses are there to make money. All right, they're there to make money. So that means they should be able to hire the people that are best fit for the job, regardless of who they are, regardless of what demographic they come from, regardless of what they have between their legs, so on, so forth, right? Well, all of a sudden, when it comes to that, all of a sudden, the businesses being there solely to make money, all of a sudden gets trumped. It gets downplayed. Well, that's not the most important thing. They have to be fair, and they are being fair. It's called meritocracy. Been a big part of this country for a long, long time. The person who works the longer hours, the person who does more for whatever company, person who networks better tends to get the raises, tends to get the cushier jobs, tends to make their way up and live a better life. At least as far as money is concerned. These people don't want that. They are actually trying to say that that men and women should have to comprise 50% respectively each of boards in major corporations. Now, that's a big problem. That disincentivizes men to work hard, because now they're going to have to work even harder to get up to these positions. And there are fewer positions there for them. And at that point, men start doing cost-benefit analysis. I know it's a really, really irritating thing for people to hear someone say that. Cost-benefit analysis. In other words, this is going to cost me this much. What are the potential benefits of me investing in this? Of me investing my time, my resources, my blood, sweat, and tears into this? What are the chances of me getting an equivalent payout in the end to make it worth my while? And the thing is as we see these quotas, less and less men are trying. More and more women are going into the workforce. And, you know, feminists love to trumpet that. But here's the thing. That increase in the workforce, how much of that is because you're forcing companies to hire them into these positions? Or to outright create new positions just so they can hire women to get their quota there. So that way they're not hiring completely disqualified people into important roles. And then at that point, that money doesn't just magically appear out of anywhere. That means downsizing happens, displacing typically men from the workforce there. And forcing the ones that remain to work even harder. And the women that actually were working their way up, actually really taking part in the workforce, living the American dream, working hard to make a better future for them and their families. What about them? Oh, now they get hit by this. Because them advancing that person, now they have that person with that certain subset of skills now in a new position where they don't have to utilize those skills. And they have to go out and try to find someone who has at least the basis for those skills, so then they can go ahead and waste the time, effort, and money training them. So the thing is quotas hurt both men and women. But it does disproportionately hurt men. That is true. But it does hurt both. And you constantly hear women, you know, bitching and complaining about guys not giving them the same respect as the other men in the workforce. Because those men didn't get there because of a quota. Well, at least most of them didn't. But then you have to take into account racial quotas, and that's a whole different video. The thing is the people that are passing these things into law, the people that are pushing for these things, are so concentrated on what makes us different that they refuse to even acknowledge what makes us the same. Because it gets in the way. It makes their arguments nonsensical. It makes their arguments moot. And they're terrified of it. These are the same people that say that you sitting there and literally just quoting statistics, saying absolutely nothing else, literally just throwing a graph up onto a screen, reading the graph verbatim, is hate speech. And I'm fully convinced that they, somewhere in the back of their mind, have the term hate speech filed away under speech that they hate. Therefore, it's illegal. You can go ahead, you can say that, yeah, that I throw out hate speech. You can go ahead and say that. Doesn't make it true. Because the thing is if anything, I hate everyone equally. I'm sick and tired of the human race in general. But when I see blatant inequalities and hypocrisy, and people trying to defend it, people telling me that I'm wrong for calling it out, well, that just makes me dig in my heels and call it out all the louder. So go ahead. Keep trying to silence me. Keep trying to shut me up. Because I'll just get louder and louder. You sit there, you call me an animal. In fact, some people are trying to say that I am not a human. They're trying to say it with a technicality. Trying to say that I don't classify as human. Literally trying to legitimize them, trying to take away me and people like me's rights. And when I say me and people like me, I'm talking about whites. And that's kind of sad to me, because they don't think that they can go ahead and compete on a level playing field. They're the ones who are saying that race matters. They're the ones who are saying that they need special advantages to be able to compete. That's a big problem. Because if you need special advantages to compete, that's called a handicap. You're needing us to be handicapped for you to compete. That means you're competing on a much lower level. And the thing is it doesn't matter if you're saying that I should have to take a handicap because of my race or skin color, whatever you want to say. Or because I'm a man, or because I'm straight. If you're saying that I am able to compete at a much higher level than you, and you need to knock me down so that you can stand a chance. And at that point in a meritocracy, where are the eyes going to go? Now, there are plenty of people that are minorities that do excellent. They do fantastic, but that's because they play the game. They do it right. They work hard. Some of them get lucky. I mean, luck is a factor. Let's be completely honest. Some of them get lucky. But a lot of them work. Now, my ex, she's black. Well, she's part black. Her dad is full black. And the thing is, her dad works his ass off. Yet he's driving around a okay car, nothing fantastic. He's not driving around a super fancy car. He's not living even in a house. He's living in an apartment complex. Now, why is that? Is it because he's socking away money and planning on spending it all on a retirement thing? No, it's because he's constantly broke. He's constantly up against the wall. Because he's paying alimony, lifetime. He also just got done having to pay child support after having to pay child support for over 30 years. That's a long time to pay child support, and he was paying out a lot of money in child support. If it hadn't been for that bullshit going on, and him having money hemorrhage from him because of our legal system, guy would be living the high life. But no, he's one of those ones that basically lives in a fucking ghetto in an apartment complex that has a roach problem, so on and so forth. And when I say roach, I ain't talking about weed roaches. I'm talking about the ones that crawl around, the ones that will survive a nuclear blast. He's not making any less than his white peers. In fact, he's making the most at his company, basically, other than the CEO and shit. He works his hours. He does his job well. He's very knowledgeable. Absolute utmost respect for the guy. Yet he's being held back. Not by his skin color, but by piss poor life choices. He stuck his dick in crazy. Continued to stick his dick in crazy. And continues to stick his dick in crazy. So, but because he lives in a ghetto, he's part of the, oh, look at how black people are being held down. My ex, she now works with children at a school program. So you'd think, oh, well, that's a success story. You know, she's working, she's working on a career. Problem is, she has a psychology degree. This job requires jack shit fuck all for psychology. She's not utilizing it because she can't get a job in a psychology area. And that's with her being part black, being a woman, being as politically correct as you can be without being a complete and total psychopath. And that's right, I'm being nice and saying she's not a complete and total psychopath. She has her moments, we all do. But for the most part, she at least has a somewhat level head. She's renting a house with her current boyfriend. Current boyfriend, good guy, I like him, we get along great. No issues between us. In fact, I jokingly said to him when I first met him, she's your problem now. And it's very unfortunate for him that I was only partly joking, because my ex has a big issue. She's a spender. She spends more than her money. She's one of those people with a champagne taste on a beer budget. She embodies that statement. And I mean, we all have that from time to time. There's that time where we're all like, fuck the cost, fuck the consequences, I'm doing something that I enjoy. Go for it. But when you're constantly in that state, you're holding yourself back. But she chose to go into a low-paying profession that has demanding hours, that has a lot of mental and physical stress. And not utilize her degree. Because it was too hard trying to break into the field. So she went ahead, racked up her student debt, and now she is expecting to continue to spend money as though she was still with me when I was sitting there working 60 hours a week, and her constantly bitching at me that I was never home enough. She continues to spend like that, even though her current boyfriend doesn't make that much. And who does the blame rest on? You would think, oh, well, it's her. Nope. Everyone blames her new boyfriend for not providing well enough, for not going out and getting another job, even though she's constantly bitching at him that he's never home enough, that he doesn't do enough with her and our daughter. Now, that's a big issue. Why is it that she's the main expender of finances, bringing in a piddly amount of finances, spending well over what she brings in on herself, not even necessarily on our daughter, but spending more on herself than what he gets to spend on himself? And I'm not talking about by a small margin. I'm not talking about a $2, $3 difference. I'm talking about thousands of dollars a year difference. And then him take the blame for them having financial hardship. Him taking all of it. No one blaming her. No one pointing the finger at her saying, hey, you need to get your spending in check if you want to move ahead. She doesn't even make enough. Even taking my daughter out of the equation, she does not make enough to cover her rent, her utilities, her food, her gas, her car insurance, her phone bill, and her student loan payments. If she had to handle all of that, if it was split equally between the two of them, like I said, even taking my daughter's costs out, let's say I was eating all that cost for my daughter, she still would not be able to stay afloat. She would always be short. A lot of people are saying, well, how do you know this? Well, me and my ex are pretty open with each other. Her new boyfriend, very vocal. He's more than willing to call her out. Good on him. I don't really foresee them going very far. He's way too much like me. But the thing is, he gets the blame. Now, like I was saying with the quotas, it's another big problem. Because we can go into, stereotypes for jobs and certain things barring men from certain jobs, such as teaching. A lot of men won't go in to teach because way too high of a chance of someone sitting there and just accusing them of some sort of sexual misconduct with a minor, and his career, his life is ruined. Just an accusation can ruin a man like that. Even if it doesn't go to court, even if the cops are all like, there's no evidence to support this, there's evidence supporting the opposite. Even if he was in another fucking country when they claimed that whatever happened, happened. Doesn't matter. The public court of opinion automatically finds the man guilty. But, like I said, that's for another time. But we now have women wanting to go in and get the jobs that men get. What they neglect to say is they want the cushy jobs. They want the jobs being in an office, nice and comfy. And then they bitch about that. They sit there and go, oh, the air conditioning's too high. I can't wear my slutty clothes. And that's men oppressing me. Now, a lot of people get up in arms about, up in arms about having a specific way of dressing for business. Having those clothing standards there. Me, I don't do it. The reason why is because of the pure and simple fact that if I was to own a business, men and women would wear the exact same uniform. Would be completely non-revealing, definitely not flattering. You would wear it a specific way, or you would get sent home. You get sent home too many times, you're gone. Why? Because that means you are going to be held to account for only one thing, and that is what you contribute to the business. Are you an investment that is paying off? Are you doing your job and doing it well? But you see a lot of these women that come in with a short-cut skirt or a blouse that's unbuttoned just enough to not quite be considered an entry level for a porn. Bitch and complain when guys stare. Bitch and complain when no one's looking them in the eye. Bitch and complain when they're cold, even though they're wearing maybe a half a foot total of cloth on their body. Whereas men have to wear a coat and all that shit inside as part of the dress code. And then they expect to be taken just as seriously. Sorry, that's not how it's going to happen. And at that point, you can't even fire them. Even if they're being that much of a pain in the ass. Not until you get another pain in the ass lined up to take their position. Because you have to meet the quota, or you get hit with a nasty fine from Big Papa government. Who's saying that you have to play nice with the daughters, or you get your kneecaps broken. Great. We've progressed so far. And then you go ahead and you get these people that are trying to say that marriage is a good thing for men, when you can sit there and look at what happens to a man in a divorce under pretty much any circumstance. Then look at a woman that what happens to them in a divorce. And you look, the pros are all there on the woman's side. The only pros on a man's are usually joke ones. Kind of like the joke, why are divorces so expensive? Because they're worth it. Well, guess what? How about instead of paying the cost to get unmarried, you just don't get married in the first place? Men started doing that. So then what happened? Oh, common law marriage, where a woman can force a man into marriage if they live together for a certain amount of time. The man has no say. And it's not even like, oh, well, if you've lived together for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, some insanely long time. Oh no, we're talking months, maybe a year. I'm pretty sure somewhere it's slightly over than a year. So don't even try with the, haha, I got you here, it's this long and it's over a year, you worthless piece of shit. No, fuck off. The fact of the matter is you are allowing one party to force the other into a social contract that is also backed legally. That's a problem. A lot of people are saying, oh, women being sold off for marriage is absolutely horrible. Well, what about men being forced into marriage? What about men being forced into fatherhood? What about these women who sit there poke holes in a condom to get pregnant, to trap a guy, so that they can go ahead and get that sweet, sweet, child support, which they don't have to spend on the child. They don't have to prove that they're spending it on the child. They just get that money. And then they can go to the court after they haven't spent the money on the child and sit there and go, well, with all the costs and everything, I can't afford it. I need you to have him give me more money. More often than not, the court will agree. Even if the guy's sitting there going, look, I live in a cardboard box. I eat every 3 days. And that's a half a bowl of cup noodle that I found in a garbage bin. I have nothing left. Oh, you don't have anything left to give? Well, guess what? We're going to go ahead and imprison you. Then we're going to go ahead and pay it to your ex. And then when you get out, you owe us the money back. Now, tell me where that's fair. Tell me where that's right. It isn't. The fact of the matter is men have been getting a raw deal for a long time. We grinned and bared it. We had some benefits to being a man. Okay, cool. You know, we, at that point, were doing our cost-benefit analysis and figured, all right, this is worth it. This is just part of being a man. Women had no problems with that part of masculinity. But then all of a sudden now, they have problems with every other part of masculinity, except for that. Oh, if you're a real man, you're going to be a slave. That's basically what's being said. Here's the problem. The men that are willing to do that, typically the woman goes around and fucks around with another guy that refuses to be like that. Because they want the bad boy. They're programmed to be that way. Genetically. Just like men are programmed to go after younger women. So the thing is how long are we going to fight the genetics that are programmed into us before we start to accept that again and figure out that nature designed us to work in harmony, not in opposition?